And good morning once again. We are here for session 3 of 8, and I have Sara Weston with me, and she is going to be presenting Empowering the Wonder Women and Men of 911. So I'm going to go through her bio here really quick, and then she's going to take it away. And Sara Weston is a senior project consultant for 911 Authority, LLC. She is a certified project management professional and emergency number professional with 15 years of experience in the public safety industry. She has been a project manager and subject matter expert for public safety projects at the federal, state, and local levels, focusing on next generation 911 planning, procurement, and implementation. She has traveled the country visiting 911 centers and getting to know our amazing 911 heroes. Through this work and experience, she has been inspired by the Thin Gold Line and found the 911 Wonder Women, a movement for uplifting and empowering women in 911. Sara and the 911 Wonder Women utilize their experience to help other women navigate challenges by providing mentorship, community, and opportunities for growth. Thank you very much for joining us, and you can take it away.
All right. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you for putting this together and giving me an opportunity to speak. It was kind of one of those things when Ricardo called me up and asked me to present, and I was like, I did one of these, like, me? But I am super excited to be here today talking to all of you. And I just want to have a little chat before we get started. It is totally weird sitting here by myself giving a presentation to a large group of people that I can't see or read your reactions or engagement. Also, I'm not a seasoned speaker. I've never done this presentation alone. I've always had a panel of amazing women here with me. So going solo is new and out of my comfort zone, to say the least. I had in my mind that there would be like a couple hundred people watching, and when I saw us go over 1,600, I freaked out a little bit. But I am pushing through that because what I want to talk to you about today, I see a real need in the 911 community. I want to help people overcome their struggles. When I was younger in my career, I didn't have a lot of people who were reaching out and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can anyone help? Or are you struggling? What can I do to help you? So I want to kind of fill that void. So while speaking in front of people is absolutely terrifying for me, I feel like I have encouragement and hope to offer you. And if I'm not the person to tell you, who else is out there besides Joe, who did an amazing job right before me. But it took me, probably up until the last week to come to terms with the fact that if I'm going to give this presentation and ask you to find your power, then I have to do the same. So I have it within me to do the scary thing, and I want to show you that I'm slaying my dragon, just like Joe told us to do. So this is not a lecture. Also, I know the name of it is Empowering the Wonder Woman of 911, but I added the men in there because I think all of us can relate to the things that I'm going to be talking about today. You are extremely giving people. You give all the time, every day. You give at your job, you give to your families and friends. And this is about taking care of yourself so you can do the job as it demands and also feel good about yourself. All right. So I know that Ricardo gave introduction of me. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself. I have worked directly with the 911 community for 15 years, and I have enjoyed every second of it. I want to thank you all for welcoming me into this amazing community with open arms. While I've never worn the headset, I've sat next to you in centers, and I've gotten to know so many of you across the country through my career. 911 is in my blood, and thank you for being the amazing heroes that you are and for welcoming people like me. I have learned through getting to know you the value of making connections, and that has inspired me to make connections with people for myself. And also, that's one of the reasons I started the 911 Wonder Woman Facebook group, is because I've had a lot of fortune in my career to meet some really amazing people. And I know not everybody has that opportunity. And if I can set something up where folks that may not be able to travel and go to conferences can have access to these amazing women that I know who are able and willing to help and give and make you better, why wouldn't I do that? So a little more background. As Ricardo said, I am a consultant for what I like to say, small but mighty consulting firm called 911 Authority. I spend most of my days helping states plan and implement next to 911 systems, and I also work with the National 911 program on several initiatives. I've also been through a lot of tough situations in my career, and I want to share that as well. It hasn't all been triumph, work hard and you get the rewards from that. And I truly believe by sharing those stories, we are starting to see the benefits through the I Am 911 movement, through the reclassification effort, through the dispatcher wellness initiatives. So 911 has gone these past 50 years just pushing, and we never really slow down. And we need to do that for each other. So also, as the slide says, I am originally from Northeast Ohio, Summit County, and I've bounced around a little bit. I went to college in Pennsylvania, lived there for a little while, and did some time in Birmingham, Alabama, and now I'm down in Orlando, Florida. I am the proud mom of 2 little boys, 4 and 2. So I want to talk about the current situation, kind of down here on my level. I have worked from home for 9 years, but my children have always gone to daycare. You guys, having my kids home while I'm trying to work has been the challenge of my professional career. It is very difficult having kids this age who love their mom, just want to be around me all the time. So at the same time, I understand that working from home with my kids is a challenge, but having to go into a 911 center with your PPE and risking getting an infection, that's hard. Getting sick, that's hard. Not having a job, that's hard. And I know we all understand this. We all understand that people are losing loved ones to the disease. But also, it is important to give each other permission to complain and vent about the relatively small things and laugh about the situations that we find ourselves in, like my 2-year-old unraveling an entire roll of toilet paper down my hall. And be there for each other through those little struggles. You're allowed to complain about going to the grocery store and not finding paper towels. Your friend who's sheltering from home is allowed to complain about missing her son's soccer games. The appropriate response that we give each other is, oh man, that really sucks. Not, are you kidding me? People are getting sick. Why are you complaining about that? So we have to laugh sometimes, we have to cry sometimes about the little things, and we have to be graceful with each other and give ourselves the grace, because I could have cried about my toilet paper, but I rolled it back up and I put it back in the bathroom, all while laughing. So I want to say one more thing about this, just to give you all another laugh. again, I've worked from home for a long time, but when this all started with shelter in place, I had a lot of friends and colleagues and clients who are working from home for the first time. So something I kept seeing on social media was they were posting videos and sharing articles about like really useful tips and tricks for working from home. Things like get up in the morning and get dressed and, put your clothes on, have a dedicated workspace, make sure it's free of clutter, like all really, really good tips. And to be honest with you, I had to stop watching them because I found myself at 5:30 in the evening trying to wrap up work and just in the midst of chaos. So I'm going to show you a little video of my personal working from home with children tips and tricks.
Hey y'all. Hey! I'm here with my coworkers. We're working on the work from home tips and tricks that they're not obeying. Such as getting dressed and putting on your work clothes. Nope. 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 0 for 3. Second one, shut the door to your office to minimize distractions. Thank you very much. That one worked out pretty well. Third, you should keep your office clean and uncluttered. I'll give that a solid nope. What do you have to say for yourself? At least he's good at tuning out his other coworkers. We'll give him an A+ for that one. Yep. It's fun.
Yep, so that's a good look at my life.
Hey, y'all.
Nope, we don't need to watch that again. So as I was in the green room with Ricardo getting ready for this, I could hear my 4-year-old like clawing at the door to try to get back in because my husband took them outside so I could get through this with you. So that was nice. But I want to say one more thing about, a couple more things about the current situation. How are you doing? Nowadays, when I start calls with clients or coworkers, we ask each other, how are you doing? And it's not the, hey, how are you doing? Good. How are you? Like, it's all one word. It's like, actually, how are you? And then we talk about it. We need to do this so we don't lose our minds. And what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling nowadays is we're doing okay. We're okay, and then like different variations of okay. Sometimes every hour of my day, I'm up and down, and we are stressed and we are trying. And what I want to say to you is that you are doing something for yourself right now. By joining and participating in this conference, you are doing something for you to improve your situation. I am proud of you for taking that step, even if you're feeling kind of blah about everything. So this slide has a beautiful drawing by one of the dispatchers who is in my 911 Wonder Woman group named Brooke Terry. She posted this one day and said a little something about it. And at the bottom, it said, artist me. And it just, I think, pulls the feelings right out of you of what's happening. And I know some people are more visual people, some more audio, but I wanted to put this here because I just think it is a picture of things that we can't necessarily put into words. I also want to take the opportunity to read an essay by a dispatcher from Decatur County, Indiana, Meghan Hamilton, a good friend of mine. I asked her to write a blog, and she sent this to me, and she just said, you know, this is what's on my heart. So I'm going to read it to you. It's called, In Times of Trouble, Look for the Helpers. In times of trouble, you can always find the helpers. In our case, you can always hear them. Dispatchers are the first responder to make contact with those in need. And during these times, need is even higher. We didn't come to these jobs in the 911 industry expecting a worldwide pandemic, but we came prepared to help. We didn't come into this job expecting to wear PPE to work every day, but we came prepared to help. We didn't come to work expecting to be shut away from the public, but we came prepared to help. Hearts are breaking in centers across the nation as we no longer see our officers. We no longer share meals in the comm center. We no longer are able to hug our coworker during a bad call. Times are tough, but I'm here to tell you that you are tougher. You are going to get through this one gloved hand at a time. There's going to be a sunny day after all of this rain. You have stepped up in ways no one could have imagined they'd have to ask of you. You are the helper. You are who Mr. Rogers was talking about. You are the helper people look to in the scary times. You have an enormous weight on your shoulder, but damn, you're wearing it well. You are finding ways to reach out, ways to celebrate wins, and you're using your social media to reach the community. It is impressive. I get it. It's exhausting, but we did not come to this job to relax. We came to help, and we aren't going anywhere. You are more than essential. You, my dear, are the first responder. You answer the cries for help and send the cavalry while keeping your fellow responders safe. Have you taken a second to recognize how truly badass that is? Have you let yourself take a deep breath in the midst of chaos and realize that you are not alone? There are dispatchers across the country in the trenches with you, and we are going to make it. We are going to keep answering the call and maintaining the amazing care and customer service all our callers deserve, and we are so wonderful at giving. At the end of this, grant yourself time to relax. You did it. Pat your partner on the back and move on to the next call with confidence. You are where you belong. You are a hero. All the feels, you guys. So I think that essay speaks for itself. I just want to reiterate one thing here. Nobody understands what you are going through except each other. No doctors, no nurses, not your parents, not your friends. And not only do they not understand the actual job you do every day, but they don't understand the unique circumstances that you're in right now. You have to reach out to each other. Send a text message to several of your peers every day. I know for some of you who are the ones who are always reaching out, you know that sometimes you feel like, well, I'm always doing this, and I wish someone else would do it. I wish someone would reach out to me, but that's not how it works. You have to keep going. Open the door to communication, reach out, because you just never know what that means to the person on the other end. Just a quick story. We started selling shirts on 911 Wonder Woman, and it was a lot of work, but I found myself having to email and message a lot of women, just like to answer their questions and send them information. And these conversations started turning into like really heartfelt discussions about what it's like to be a dispatcher, what it's like to be a woman, sending me feedback because I'm not always sure that I'm doing the right things. So these little bits of encouragement and conversations were so meaningful to me and so important, and they were created out of thin air. When you make a point to reach out, it will come back to you, and we need that now more than ever. So, one more thing about what we're going through right now. And that's, I know that you're doing your best. And to reiterate some of Meghan's points in her essay, just think of how amazingly strong you are going to be when this is over, because it is going to be over. Think of your normal day right now in this season and all of the challenges that you are facing beyond how challenging your job was before. And you don't have any choice but to handle it and keep showing up. You don't have any choice but to do the hard stuff. And before, if someone would be like, hey, do you want to go into this area that's having a breakout of a virus and go help in that center? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you would do it, but now you don't have a choice. So fight through this day knowing with absolute certainty that even though many things seem out of your control because of the pandemic, things were not in your control before the pandemic. It just seemed like they were. So this is no different. And when this is done, you would have picked yourself up off the floor so many times that it will seem like nothing. When you stumble, you're like, you know what? I overcame that and I can overcome this. Okay. So what is this presentation supposed to be about anyway? Empowerment. So empowerment is seems like a buzzword nowadays. It kind of gets thrown around. We want to empower women. We want to empower our employees. Empower. So I want to make sure it doesn't lose its meaning, because I love the idea of empowerment. So the Oxford definition that I really like of empowerment is the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. It gives me a little bit of chills. So the part of the word that I want to draw your attention to now and for the next couple of slides is power. And Joe talked about power in his presentation so beautifully. It's the idea of you're not giving your power away, you're holding on to it and you're thriving in it. So power means different things to different people. And I know men and women look at it a little bit differently, but it also, I think men and women both struggle with this, just maybe in different ways. So I want to talk about finding the power within ourselves, because it's one of those things, like if you've ever flown on an airplane, they ask you to adjust your oxygen mask first before helping others. So that's the idea of, in order to help someone else, you have to have the oxygen. Or if you're helping people and continuously pouring from your cup, you have to make sure your cup is full, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So, excuse me. Finding your voice is a large part of finding your power. So I'm going to talk a little bit about finding your voice and having difficult conversations. My entire life, I've had trouble doing this. It's just really hard for me. And I think it's really hard for a lot of people. I'm a people pleaser from way back. When people would put me down or say something that hurt me or angered me, I would just be like, well, I'm strong. I can take it. I would rather just be quiet than call someone out and make them feel uncomfortable and make everybody feel uncomfortable. And I thought that that was fine. But every time somebody puts you down or says something to you that doesn't feel right, it piles up. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. So it's important to find your voice and practice speaking up for yourself for other people, because otherwise it really does weigh heavy on you. So I was about maybe 9 years into my career before I finally mustered the courage to speak up and use my voice. And really, it wasn't me. I had a baby, and that little boy was more important than my fear of speaking up. So I used borrowed courage for speaking up for my baby and my family rather than just speaking up for me, which is okay, because at the end, that can be the same thing. So I did it. I talked to management. I let them know what my needs were, how they changed. But I spoke up. And I'd love to tell you that it was a brilliant success. Nope. I fell on my face. Nobody cared. Nobody really responded. It didn't get me anywhere. So I could have crawled back in my hole and been like, okay, well, I used my voice and it didn't work. So there goes that. Not doing that anymore. But instead, it awoke something in me just by using the voice, even if it didn't get me what I needed. So it was a catalyst for me to make change in my own life, the change that I needed to make so that I could be somewhere where my voice is heard and be in this amazing career with amazing company and coworkers that I love, where if I hadn't failed, I hadn't tried, I wouldn't be here. So I wanted to tell you that because you're going to fail sometimes, but failure is never a true failure unless you give up. There's so much to be learned from just putting yourself out there and trying. Okay, so I wanted to give you some tactical advice during this presentation, and I did quite a bit of research because as someone who struggled deeply on this topic, it's hard for me. So hold on one second. Okay, so so I did some research and I picked out things that have really helped me about when to speak up. So trying not to have the conversation when you're feeling super emotional or upset can be really helpful. And I understand that speaking up in general can make you feel emotional and anxious, but calm down as much as possible and you'll be able to think better and things will go better. Also, think about what you're going to say ahead of time. I know a lot of us have like difficult conversations with ourselves in our head and we kind of go back and forth like while we're working out or in the shower, just like, I'm going to say this and they're going to say this and I'm going to say this. That's good. You know, it's good practice. When you're in the conversation, listen to the response of the other person and take your time to react to their response because it might not be what you were expecting. And if you're sitting there just thinking about the thing you want to say next, you might miss a really good possibility to understand that person's point of view. Have realistic expectations of the results. That's something that I didn't do. So, you know, it might not go your way, or you might have to have the conversation a couple different times in a couple different ways. And it's important, like I said, just to keep trying. And then remember to really hold on to your why you're having this conversation, why you're making this request. Because if you're just, for example, going to your manager and saying, hey, you know, I don't want to travel anymore. I'm sick of this. It's too much. And part of your job is to travel. You know, your boss is probably going to be like, nope, that's part of the job. But if you say like, hey, you know, I just had a baby 6 months ago. I'm trying to bond with it. I'm nursing, all of that. That lets them know where you're coming from. And that's really important. And also a conversation is always better than a confrontation. So you want to tell the person in advance, like you want to have a talk with them, maybe go somewhere where the two of you can be one-on-one and not in front of people. Something that you need to know, which you probably already know, but be smart about this. If a real and legitimate result of having this conversation is that you're going to lose your job and you don't have another one lined up and your family's going to suffer, then you might want to take another avenue. Like if you have an HR department or you can have someone else to talk to and run things by, you really have to think that through. Be smart. Also, consider what the other person is going through. And right now is a hard time to have difficult conversations. And I understand a lot of things aren't going to be able to wait until this pandemic is over. But if it can, that might be a good idea. Just kind of know, either ask around or get information on where this person is right now, because that's going to be really important to kind of catch them at a good time. Be respectful. You just have to. And I understand that not everyone's going to be respectful back to you, but you have to give yourself the grace to take in that information and be like, whoop, they're not being respectful. But coming back at them has other consequences. So you kind of have to just take that in, like, okay, maybe now's not a good time, or this isn't going anywhere, reevaluate the situation. And then running it past a friend or a loved one, these tips can go for professional discussions as well as personal ones. I always run difficult conversations by somebody because I want to make sure my headspace is right and I want to make sure I have the right words to use. So I usually talk to somebody who's outside the situation. So if it's a work thing, I would talk to my husband and then maybe another coworker as well to get kind of both of their perspectives. Okay, so I listened to a podcast recently with an author. Her name is Jennifer Allwood. And she talks about confidence. Confidence is a big part of being empowered, but also it's okay to not feel confident. Is it really confidence that we're after, or is it courage? And I'll explain this. Courage is something that you all have. You all have more courage in your beings than I can even imagine, just in the line of work that you're in. So when you have to do something hard, you don't need to be confident to do it. You just have to have the courage to do it. Confidence is not a thing that you can really get. So, for example, in the 9-1 Wonder Woman group, we started this thing called Friday Live Day. And women can sign up every Friday. Somebody goes live for about 15 minutes and just talks about whatever they want to talk about. So if you don't know what going live means, it's terrifying. Like literally you push a button on your phone and then you are broadcast to whoever's in that group. So there's 4,200 women in the group. But every single woman has been like, oh, I'm really nervous to do this. I don't know if I can do it. But they had the courage. Even if they didn't have the confidence to go live and talk, they found the courage to do it. And then when they did that, when they overcame it, their confidence grew. And hopefully they can take that with them to the next hard thing. And another thing to remember about confidence is it is specific to certain things in your life. You can be confident about some things and not others. It's situational. So when I was a gymnast, I was 100% confident that I was going to flip backwards on a 4-inch wide balance beam that's 4 feet off the ground and land and be fine. But then if I had to go talk to my coach about something, not so confident. So you could watch me doing gymnastics and be like, wow, that is a confident young woman. But outside of that, you'd be like, she really needs to work on that. So you have to find your version of recognizing your own confidence. It's going to take practice. You have to do things with pretend confidence over and over again until actually you find yourself confident one day. I also want to say that confidence is grounded in knowledge and preparation. So I don't want to gloss over that. In order to find your confidence, you have to have the knowledge and you have to put in the work. And that will make you feel more confident and make things a little bit easier. One last thing, confidence is contagious. And Halcyon and Joe both kind of touched on this. But when somebody sees you stepping out of your comfort zone and being confident or courageous, they'll feel like they can do it too. It's leading by example, which is a really, really powerful leadership tool. I want to read this quote. We have people watching us all the time who need for us to slay our dragons so that they can slay theirs. I just think that's really powerful. So keep that in mind. Even if you're feeling not so courageous, think of the people that you're going to be standing up for and conquering. So one more thing about empowerment, being your authentic self. And I know this is kind of a major eye roll. Like, how many times have you heard somebody say, just be yourself? I'm not the first person to tell you that, but it took me a while in my career just to realize that I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And yes, there's been some issues like when I was young or being a woman, but also I'm just not everyone's cup of tea. And that's life. There's no way that everyone is going to like you if you're being yourself. And, I'm a recovering people pleaser. This is hard for me to even talk about, but it's just not possible to be fully happy and be trying to be someone different for everyone else. So think of the most amazing person you know. Just imagine them in your head, someone you look up to, aspire to be like. Now tell me, does everyone like them? Or can they be a little polarizing? You have to let all of that crap go and put yourself out there so you can be you. It's like a huge weight being lifted off your shoulders, and you may lose some people along the way. Halcyon talked about that this morning. Like, people may not like the new you who's not trying to please everybody, but you have to try. And this in a professional setting looks a little bit different. As my friend and co-worker Jenna says, you can be unapologetically yourself, but still be professional. So if you're in a center and you have to work with people, sometimes you have to meet them halfway, but you do not have to change yourself completely. You just have to work with these people. Quick story, when I was younger, I worked in an office that had cubicles. So I was a 22-year-old, just like I have this laugh. If you know me, you know my laugh. I've always had this really loud laugh, and I've always had a really nervous giggle. So I'm laughing a lot. And in Cubicleville, that doesn't always go over very well. So I got a talking to one day about laughing too loud and too much, which was so hard for me because I was like, no, people don't like me. But I had to step back and just consider that there are people from different cultures, people from different backgrounds, people with different upbringings that just don't appreciate that. So as hard as it is to change your laugh, which I can't really do, I had to really think and make an effort because I was offending or getting in the way of people who were working around me. Another thing about being yourself is considering the people that you're spending time with. I think we've all heard this theory of 5 people, which is you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you think about the 5 people that you engage with most often, if there's 1 or 2 of them that are dragging you down, you're getting dragged down. You just are. Even if, you have 3 really strong people and these 2 people that aren't cheering you on, that's going to bring you down. So you kind of have to consider in your life, if you're going to be your authentic self, who you're choosing to spend time with. Also, don't be rude. You can be yourself without being unkind and disrespectful. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I know you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm wrapping up now. And I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. This is a quote by Trinetta Ray, who's a dispatcher. And I read it and it just gave me chills because it summarizes in words that I could never find what I'm trying to do with my career and what I'm trying to do with 911 Wonder Woman and what we should all be doing. So I'm going to read it. Don't stumble through your career. Make meaningful connections and intentional decisions that have positive influences over your callers, over your coworkers, and yourself. Intentional decisions to be positive. It is a decision, especially now when there's so much we can't control. We can make the decision to be positive ourselves and have positive influences over your callers, your coworkers, and yourself. It is a choice, and I challenge you to make that decision. And it's not easy. It is not easy. I struggle with it every day, but the fact that I'm struggling with it means that I'm trying, and that's what I ask you to do. If you want to have a meaningful career and go where you want to go, this is so important. It's about your mindset. So said another way, I wanted to try to make you laugh during this presentation because life is very heavy right now. But also, in all seriousness, I sometimes look to the power of hip hop music and the wise words of Jay-Z and Pharrell. Mainly, it ain't where I've been, but where I'm about to go. And, if you take something away from this conversation about feeling empowered, is that you have control over where you go. You don't necessarily have the most control over where you've been, but you have control to make that decision to be positive and take control of where you're about to go. Okay, that's me. That's my information. My email address, you can find 911 Wonder Woman on Instagram and Twitter. And if you are a woman, you can find our private Facebook group. Coming soon, we'll have a website. And also we have a couple of episodes of Within the Trenches, 277 and 311, that talk more about 911 Wonder Woman and empowering women in 911.
All right. Excellent. So let me bring my video back up here. All right, there I am. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that up there for just a second. And I want to go over these polls really quick. And there is a question in here for you as well that
Okay.
that I'm going to bust out here in just a moment, because we still have about 10 minutes or so here. So this is good. So you wanted to put out a poll, how long have you worked in 911? And there is so much experience in this room right now. It's amazing. But with 60 votes, actually 61. What's funny is that as I'm talking, it's fluctuating at the same time. If you haven't checked out the poll, make sure to look on your screen. There is a poll that you can answer right now. But leading the poll right now with 61 votes, 62 votes, actually, it just moved, is 20 to 30 years in 911.
Wow.
So that is pretty awesome. And then with 17 votes is 30 plus years. Looks like battling for second and third place here is the 11 to 15 and 15 to 20 years. So, man, that's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of experience there. That is amazing.
I'm glad I didn't know that at the beginning because that's super intimidating for me. But thank you all for listening to what I had to say.
No, of course. You did excellent. It was an excellent presentation. There's so many people in here right now that they're just commenting back and forth. And like I said in Joe's session, the fact that everyone is in here networking and talking to each other and being here for each other, this is the real cool part of this here as well. And it's all done, we're doing this virtually, just another way to be able to do this. Now, the question that popped up here, there was only one question that I saw, and it's been upvoted. So it says, how and why did you get involved in the 911 community?
Whew, well, it's not that interesting. I in college, I went to Penn State. I had majored in information sciences and technology. So basically, I graduated in 2005, and the job market was okay. It wasn't awesome, but basically, I just really wanted a job. So I got a couple of offers, and one of them was an engineering firm that was in State College, which is where I went to school, and I wouldn't have to move. So I chose to go in, and that was how I got into 911 consulting as a 22-year-old. And at first, I focused on radio systems. I did a lot of radio engineering projects and kind of learned about the next gen 911 stuff from other people in my office and kind of transitioned over to that. And then as I started working on that, I got to travel the country and go into 911 centers and see what I was doing, see what I was working on every day in the office. And the more I got to travel, and then I became a project manager so I could get out there more, the more I just was like, how was I so lucky to come into this industry? While I said before I struggled a lot being like the only young woman, really. Maybe there was like two of us, but again, as I traveled, I got to meet amazing women across the country as clients and at conferences. And if I hadn't made those connections, I don't know, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all. And that's why I'm so passionate about making those connections, like I talked about. That's why I'm so passionate of getting a Facebook group. Like, I didn't know one thing about Facebook. My friend Jen helped me start the Facebook group in the backseat of a car in the middle of South Dakota. Like, but I pushed through because that's a way that we can connect to each other, even if it's social media. It's a way to connect the dots. And I totally answered your question and kept going, but just felt right.
No, that is excellent. Thank you again so much for being a part of this virtual conference, and again, just everything in the comments. Once I end this session, you can check out the comments there. You're still able to check everything out.
Oh, good. Yeah, I couldn't see them, guys. I just I get distracted very easily. Like, my kids were screaming outside during that session. I couldn't have the comments on, but I really want to read them. So I'm so glad I'm going to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. When I end the broadcast, excuse me, the replay will start, and everyone is thanking you and saying a bunch of other stuff, and there's really, really good. And again, honored to have you on, and thank you so much for doing this session. For those who are watching, the next session that's going to be coming up is going to be at 11:45 a.m. Eastern time. It is The Power of Wondering Compassionately, and that'll be with Jim Marshall, not Martian, Jim Marshall of the, he'll like that when we go into the green room, with the 911 Training Institute, and we will jump over there. Again, I will end the session here, and I will bring you all over with me. So you don't have to switch or anything else. If you happen to get dropped out or you have to leave or something, when you use that link to get back in, just make sure that in the upper left-hand corner that you hit the schedule for the session and go to whatever session that you need to go to. Was that a clock?
That was my son ringing the doorbell, you guys.
Oh, that is awesome.
That wasn't real.
That is superb. See, that's what makes this so much fun. This is good.
It is. Yes.
So again, thank you very much. And everyone, I will see you here at in just a little bit. We'll start up at 11:45 a.m. Have a good one.
Bye.